I'm not writing this from the other side of an episode. I'm writing it from inside one. What depression actually feels like and what I do when it arrives. Sorry for all the snot and the sniffing. I'm reading this from something I wrote earlier today. So stick with me. I felt it this morning. Not dramatically, not in a way that anyone watching would notice. Just a kind of heaviness settling over me, familiar, unwanted, but unmistakable. Like a fog that rolls in off the bay before dawn and sits on everything. You know it'll lift eventually, but while it's there, you can barely see your hand in front of your face. My sleep had been disrupted for a few nights. Nothing dramatic, just the 3 a.m. mind twisting and turning, refusing to settle. That alone is enough to crack the foundation. And this morning when I woke up, the person who usually greets the day with genuine energy and curiosity and excitement had been replaced by someone I hadn't seen in a while. Someone who was fragile, tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. And that's depression. Not always the dramatic collapse, sometimes just this. A grey morning that your brain has decided is permanent. So what does depression actually feel like? I spent a long time trying to describe this accurately because I think the way we talk about depression does a disservice to the people who are quietly suffering through it. We tend to describe it in extremes. The person who can't get out of bed, the complete unraveling, the crisis. And yes, it can be all of those things, but a lot of the time, depression is more insidious than that. It's subtle. It sneaks in wearing ordinary clothes. For me, it shows up as a kind of fragility, a vulnerability that sits just beneath the skin. The world feels slightly more threatening, sometimes a lot more threatening, slightly less manageable than it did yesterday. Small decisions feel enormous. The confidence and calm I normally carry, the version of me that shows up ready, goes quiet. And then the lies start. That's what I call them, the lies, because that's exactly what they are, even if they feel utterly convincing in the moment. You are not enough. You are a burden. You are failing. You are falling behind and everyone can see it. These thoughts arrive not as whispers but as statements of fact, delivered with absolute certainty by a part of your brain that has temporarily hijacked the controls. And if you don't know what they are, they can run your life. Why naming it matters more than you think. I've been here 1,000 times. That's not an exaggeration. I've been navigating depression, anxiety, and the long tail of PTSD for the best part of 30 years, maybe more. And the single most useful thing I've learned is this: knowing what it is changes everything. Not because naming it makes it go away, it doesn't. But because when you know what it is, you stop trying to reason your way out of it. And you stop believing everything it tells you. Before I understood depression, these mornings were terrifying. The fragility felt like evidence of something catastrophically wrong. The lies felt true. I'd make decisions about my relationship and my work and my worth from inside that fog, which is like trying to drive while someone's holding a blanket over your windscreen. Now I recognize it. I say to myself, sometimes, literally, out loud, this is depression. This is a condition. And it's not the truth. And it will pass. And something in my nervous system settles just slightly. Not fixed, but grounded. There's real neuroscience behind this. When we name what we're experiencing, when we label an emotion state accurately, it activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational thought, and it dials down the amygdala. the brain's threat detection system that's been running the show. The act of naming it is not passive. It's one of the most powerful things you can do in the early moments. So what is depression and what it isn't? Depression is not a character flaw. It is not laziness wearing a costume. It's not weakness or ingratitude or self-indulgence. It's a clinical condition, a dysregulation of the brain's mood systems, influenced by genetics, neurochemistry, sleep, stress, life experience, and about 100 other variables we're still working to understand. I'm going to repeat it. Depression is not a character flaw. What it is, in plain terms, a state in which the brain's normal capacity to regulate mood and energy and motivation and self-perception becomes significantly impaired. It distorts everything. It makes the past look like a proof of failure and the present feel unbearable and the future look like more of the same. It's a lens, not a mirror. What you see through it is not an accurate reflection of reality. I'm going to repeat that. What you see through that lens is not an accurate reflection of reality. And it's let me try that again. It's extraordinarily common. Globally, more than 280 million people live with depression. In Australia, it's one of the most prevalent health conditions we face, which means the person sitting quietly across from you at a cafe this morning, or the one you saw at school drop-off, might be carrying exactly what I'm describing right now. We just don't talk about it honestly enough. What I actually do when depression arrives, this is the part I want to be really careful about, because there's a version of this section that turns into a tidy wellness checklist. 5 steps to beat depression. And that would be a lie. And it would be disrespectful to anyone who has genuinely struggled. So I want to be really clear. What I'm about to share is not a cure. It's not a fix. It's what I do to stay afloat, to keep moving, to not make things worse, and to create the conditions which my nervous system can begin to recover. They are not heroic acts. They are small, deliberate ones. The first thing I do is reduce my expectations significantly. The version of me who plans big, executes boldly, and pushes hard is not available right now. Pretending otherwise, trying to perform my way through a depressive episode, makes it worse, not better. So I scale everything back. What's the minimum I need to do today? I do that. Everything else can wait. You might think it can't, but everything else can wait, believe me. Second thing is get outside and move my body. Not a grueling workout, not a test of discipline, just movement. A walk, stretching, gentle exercise, preferably somewhere with trees or water or both. The evidence on exercise and depression is unambiguous. Even a 20-minute walk measurably shifts neurochemistry. It's not about fitness. It's about giving your brain the one input it responds to most reliably when mood regulation has gone offline. Third, I keep eating properly. Depression has a way of disrupting appetite. Either you stop eating or you reach for all the wrong things, the quick hits that feel soothing in the moment and hollow an hour later. I know this pattern, so I keep to simple, nourishing food. Not because I feel like cooking, I don't, because I know that blood sugar instability and nutrition gaps will make the fog thicker. Fourth, sleep structure. This is one of the hardest ones during a depressive episode because sleep is often what's already broken. But I commit to a consistent wake time, even if I've barely slept. Not to punish myself, but because sleep timing is one of the most powerful regulators of the circadian rhythm and mood systems. An irregular wake time is fuel for the fog. A consistent one is a foothold. Fifth, I tell someone. Not everyone he says on YouTube. Just 1 or 2 people I trust. Not to fix anything, not to panic, but to know there's something significant that happens when you don't have to carry it alone. Depression is isolating by design. It tells you that you'll be a burden if you share it, and that people don't want to know. That's one of its lies. So a quiet "I'm going through a few hard days" to someone safe costs very little and creates more support than you'd expect. Trust me on that one. And finally, and this is one that took me the longest to learn, I refuse to believe the lies. I don't fight them. I don't argue with them. I just don't act on them. When depression tells me I'm failing, I notice it and choose not to let that voice direct my behaviour. I show up anyway, imperfectly, quietly, and without fanfare. That act of showing up is not a small thing. It's the whole thing. And if anything, it's a superpower of mine. And I'm not scared to say it. And so, depression allows me to practice my superpower. What 30 years has taught me about living with depression. I don't welcome depression. I want to be really honest about that. I'm not going to dress it up as a gift or a teacher, some spiritual invitation. It's hard. It's disruptive. It touches my work, my parenting, my sense of self. And some waves have been brutal. But what's different now, after 30-something years of this, is that I no longer fear it. Fear was the thing that made it so much worse, especially in the early years. The fear of the episode itself, the fear of what it meant, the fear that it might not pass, or that the next one could be worse. That fear lived alongside the depression and amplified everything. It was like fighting a fire and pouring petrol on it at the same time. Now I know, genuinely, in my bones, that it passes. Not always quickly and not always cleanly, but it does every single time. And that knowledge is not nothing. That knowledge is everything. I know that the version of me who shows up despite the fog, who goes for a walk when every cell in his body wants to stay horizontal, who eats the food, who tells the person, who refuses the lies, that person is capable of a kind of courage that most people never have to find. I'm not writing this from the other side of an episode. I'm writing it from inside one, which is exactly why I wanted to write it, because this is what it actually looks like. Not from a safe distance, from here, right now, on a day that feels heavier than most. So if you're in it too, whether it's today or you've been in it for months, I hope something here helps. Not because I have all the answers, but because I've been here 1,000 times. And I can tell you with complete certainty, you are not broken. You are not failing. And this is not the truth of who you are. It is just the fog. And fog lifts. If you are experiencing depression, or you think you might be, please please chat with a GP or a mental health professional. beyondblue.org.au is a site you can visit, or call someone at Lifeline 131114. They're available anytime if you need immediate support. Connect with me on any of the channels below, and I'm open to questions and to comments, and I'll leave it there. Thank you for listening this far. Keep showing up.